Hello, today I'll be doing my video presentation for POL134 on immigration in Brazil. Now, first we need to look at what's happening in Brazil with its politics. Bolsonaro recently got elected, and for the last quite a few governments that have been in power, they've been promoting socialism, a lot of left-wing ideas. So I have notes here, individuals such as Dilma, I can't pronounce her last name, Rousseff, and Mitchell Temer. And there's been a lot of corruption going on in Brazil, a lot of money laundering, vote rigging, and all of that. So a lot of Brazilians were getting sick of it, and they elected Bolsonaro. Now, what does Bolsonaro stand for? He's a populist, right? He is also a traditionalist. So, for example, he's personally okay with gay people, he just doesn't like them making out in public. He, for example, believes in the Second Amendment, so the right to bear arms. The Second Amendment isn't in Brazil, but, he's a pro-gun advocate. Yes, citizens should have firearms. Now, there's this level of nationalism there, right? They look at purity of race there more important than a mixed race. It doesn't matter how pure you are of whatever race, it just matters that you're not mixed race there. They're very weird about ethnicity there. So, why is that important to understand that? It's important to understand that when you look at immigration, because you need to look at what kind of people do they want coming to their country. Venezuelans currently are fleeing into the country. Alright? And Venezuelan ideas don't quite go well with Brazilian ideas. Now, okay, similar culture, but the Venezuelans speak Spanish, while the Brazilians speak Portuguese. How are they going to communicate with each other? Now, Venezuelans also, for example, although they're currently under socialism, they hate the current leader there, right? His name is, let's find it, Nicolas Maduro. Now, a lot of Venezuelans, right, like Hugo Chavez, and he was the previous president there. And he set up a lot of the policies that's causing Venezuela to fail, because he didn't diversify his economy, right? He was like, oil prices aren't going to go down, and he just exported crude oil. Now, the crude oil, no one wants it, right? The prices have dropped. They'd rather get oil from other places that they don't have to refine. So, he set up the policies. It's just Nicolas Maduro, right? He didn't change much of them. He largely was like, we'll keep it the same. It's fine. And if you look at Chavez, right? A lot of people really like him. But a lot of people don't like Maduro. They think Maduro created the problems, but he didn't, right? Why is it important to understand this? Why would a group of Brazilians who are under socialism for a while, right, socialist-style government, who recently got rid of a lot of leftists because of their corruption, want socialists in their country? They're not going to want socialists in their country. They're going to want to have more of a traditionalist view. There's been a lot of cases of mobs attacking Venezuelans entering the country. And understandably, they feel like it's going to be an attack on their culture. Venezuela's just above Brazil. Now, if you also look at the other neighbors, I've written a list. So here's another point. Brazil deals with people moving through their country to get into the United States. And some people want to just move to Brazil. These individuals come from the following countries: Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Colombia with the drug trafficking, right? Peru, Argentina, and, of course, Venezuelans, right? Venezuela. So, they have countries to their north, to their west, and to their south. They have a sea to their east. Now, they don't have to worry about pirates as much anymore. So, they've got to defend a very large part of their border, right? From people entering. And recently, the Brazilian defense minister, Raul Jungmann, if I pronounce his name right, discussed relocating Venezuelan refugees and deploying more troops to the border. Now, it's going to really infuriate the individuals in Brazil that the government has to waste money trying to protect their culture, right? So a lot of Brazilians, right, they started mob attacks. Now they have guns, what's going to stop them from killing the Venezuelans? Sure, they come from similar cultures, but their fundamental values are very different. That's if they even make it across the border, the Venezuelans, because they've got no food, right? So essentially you have two different ideologies clashing. And the Brazilians support more of a traditionalist kind of ideology, more of a free market. But with Venezuelans, they're kind of like, well, socialism, it's all fine. And essentially, they want to stop individuals from changing certain cultural trends, right? For example, if a bunch of socialists come into the country and they become citizens and they could elect someone who's a socialist. And there's about 2 million Venezuelans that have fled into Brazil. So, yeah, it's quite a lot, and there's more leaving every day. So it's going to end up building up. And I'm not sure how the voter registration system works. So yeah, there's probably some people that are voting that shouldn't be voting. So, you have nationalism in Brazil, okay? You have populism. You have very different views from them to others. You have drug cartels coming in. You have criminal syndicates, FARC, for example, in Colombia. The place next door probably lurking around Brazil. Migration's an issue. Border defense is an issue. And it seems like a lot of Brazilians are getting really sick and tired of individuals entering their country. And it's a big national justice problem. They spend a lot of money on defending their borders. Now, it's good for Brazil as, they're one of the largest economies in the world, part of BRICS, but they've got a lot of terrain, right? And I guess they have that going for them, It's a lot harder for individuals to kind of just walk through into the border because, it's like there's mountains at areas, there's all these wilderness animals, but, you've seen, for example, the caravan crisis up in America. Individuals walking from all these other Southern American countries, going through Brazil, going through Colombia, going through Mexico to get to the border. So, it's not necessarily individuals just wanting to go to Brazil, it's also individuals wanting to go through Brazil to get to America. And, is America really going to be too impressed with these countries not defending their borders better, letting people walk through it? Probably not. So, if they got off on, if they sort out border issues, then it can probably be, reduce tariffs or something. I'm sure they can battle something else out like that. But it's really a national justice problem because the individuals are concerned about culture, concerned about their values. They elected Maduro for a change, for a reason. They don't want a bunch of leftist socialists coming in and screwing that up for them. They also can see through other countries that are trying to embrace a lot of migrants coming in, when they don't share the same values, right, what ends up happening is stuff like in Europe at the moment, where a bunch of women end up getting raped and murdered because they're letting in people who have different views to them. It creates social tension. So, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, great idea. This is the end of the video.